How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. Well, welcome to another episode of Headcases, and this week's guest story is quite an anomaly from the usual podcast that they have. And just before I get into giving you a little bit about what it's about, I want to tell you a little story about when I used to sail, and it was just a good boys club, and we would meet in the bar after, and we always gave out what we called an aw shit award and a done good award. And the aw shit was for somebody who really messed up, and the done good was obviously for the person that won the race, or the one that really did the best job in the race. And all of us have in our lives, to get that parallel, have had an aw shit award in our life, and we've had a done good award. And when I heard a friend of mine tell me the story about Lionel Kearse and talk about what he did with his life, I had to have him on as a guest because I so admire his transformation. And his aw shit, or what he was before, and his done good, what he is now, those stories are about as dramatically opposite as I think I've ever heard. And I don't really want to give any of it away. I want it to come from him. But when it comes to changing your life, I saw a quote recently that read, "Life has no remote. Get up and change it yourself." And my friends, this person exemplifies self-betterment. So let's get into this week's head case. My good friend, Lionel Kearse. Well, again, guys, I know that was a kind of an odd intro that we talked to, and usually you get everything about this gentleman, but I really wanted it to be a surprise. So what I want to do first off is I just want to kind of give you the backstory of how I met this amazing man. I was doing a class in Brooklyn, New York at Salon 718, and the owner, Michaela, related to me the story. We were having dinner, and she related to this story about this barber who had this amazing life turnaround story. And as I talked about it at the very opening, I talked about the oh shit award and so on, and the done good award. I think this person just absolutely exemplifies that. So I, first of all, just want to say, Lionel, it is a pleasure and honor to have you on here. And I know we've chatted a couple times, but I just want to say welcome to Headcases.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
Well, I think it's just it's such a great story. And, and I think that it's even more impactful for our listeners and viewers simply because you're a barber and you live the same life of hair that we do. So if you could just give us a little bit of your hair story. How did you get into hair, and how did you get into hair, etc.?
Okay. First of all, when I was young and I would go to the barber shop, I used to love the camaraderie between the barbers and the customers that would come in the shop because, the barbers were the staples of the community. And then you got so much going inside the barber shop. You got people coming in selling stolen items. That was just the place to be. So I always admired the barber, the changes of hands of the money and not having to wait for a paycheck and, and being able to take control of someone's look. It really intrigued me.
Yeah. And so you kind of grew, and I might get it wrong. I think you told me one other time, but it's Farragut.
Yes,
Farragut
Projects in Brooklyn. Yes.
Yeah. And so, it's funny, like, so many people that are out there, if you're not from the projects, it's a harder place to imagine. And so I want to take you back from there. So you got that, you were in the barbershops, you're watching all the transactions that are going on. So that was how you saw it. Now, how did you transition how did you actually get into barbering?
Well, like I said, as a kid, I was always intrigued of the barbershop environment. And at the age of 15, I got into the drug trade. And one of my dreams was I know I can't do this for the rest of my life, that I wanted to transition and be a barber, take the money and get a barbershop and be a barber. So throughout my travels, I went to barber school, but I was still dabbling in selling drugs, and then I got shot 5 times,
Wow.
not at different times. At one time, a guy
Wow.
shot me 5 times. And before he shot me, I was going to barber school because I was trying to transition myself out of the drug game, and I got shot 5 times. So that kind of derailed the process of me finishing barber school.
Wow. Well, I mean, I've heard of many stories of why you had, and I have a smile on my face right now, but not from the severity of what you talked about. But to me, life, I always try to find the humor in things. I'm trying to think of of you going, you obviously couldn't do it, but now the people that wanted to leave barbering school or hairdressing school or whatever, and they sometimes have a lame excuse. I think that being shot 5 times, I think, is a pretty it's a pretty good excuse for bowing
Yeah.
out of barbering at that time. So how old were you when you got into and you went to because you started at 15? How old were you when you got shot and you had to exit the barbering school?
Well, when I got shot, I believe I was maybe 27,
Yeah.
28, and I got shot. So unfortunately, I couldn't finish the school, but I never forgot about wanting to be a barber.
Yeah. When you and I were chatting, you said that there was that time. I'm guessing, so after that, when you recuperated. Obviously, I mean, obviously, you don't get shot 5 times and not have it not be serious. So it must have been pretty darn serious.
Yeah, well, I was blessed. I mean, I got shot point blank range, so the bullets went in and out. They didn't cause that much damage. I lost like 1/3 of my lung. I lost.
Wow.
They shot me in my private part, so I lost one of my scrotums, and the bullet went. They shot me from the back while I was on the ground, so the bullet grazed
Oh,
the outside wall muscle of my heart. So I was blessed that I didn't turn the wrong way because it would have shot my heart out.
wow. I mean, this is not stuff that I mean, this is the stuff you see on movies, and yet you're living that. And so, I mean, I'm interested in a couple things here, and I hope you don't mind me. If you just tell me to shut up, you can tell me to shut up. But I'm always thinking about that. Did the guy that shot you, did you ever see him again? Did it ever, did what? I mean, I can only imagine how your reaction was and how you feel about that person that shot you. Did you ever see him again? Was he ever around again?
No, I never saw him again. But the ironic thing is that once I got shot and got released from the hospital, I went back to the same area where I got shot at because my mind was so crazy with selling drugs that it was about the money. I was
Yeah.
chasing the devil's money. So I put my life on the line again
Wow.
for the sake of
Wow.
$1.
Wow.
That was just it was just like, oh well, this is what it is,
Yeah.
but I ain't gonna let that stop me from getting my money.
Right.
Let
Yeah.
me say
So,
this, and let me say this before we continue on. I might have sold drugs, but I always had a conscience and I never killed nobody.
right.
Because I always said to myself that I'm no better than the person that I'm selling drug to.
Right.
I'm just
Wow.
addicted to the lifestyle as them. So I
Yeah.
think through the blessings of God, that's why I got spared and I was able to recuperate and move forward because deep down inside, I always had a conscience and I knew what I was doing was wrong. But when you get caught up with that fast money, you think there's no way out.
Yeah. 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 I'm infatuated by what's going on and the fact of your mind, because to me, it's all about mindset and
Right,
how, your mindset was stuck in the game, stuck in with the money. Because I think it sounds to me it was more about the money than the drugs. That was what you had to do, support
right,
yourself, your family, and so
right,
on.
right.
But when you and I chatted before, you said that it was also that, and I loved how you put it because you said that it was about the hustle. Tell us about, the hustle and how the hustle changed for you.
Well, to me, hustling always been a high. The euphoric feeling you get from changing hands with money, because
Right.
every different sale is at a different amount of money. So you don't know if you're gonna get a $20 sale, You don't know if you're gonna get $100 sale. So you're not smoking the coke, but you're chasing the high of the
Yeah.
transactions,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you get caught up in that.
So I think, see, to me, and then so did the transition happen? Was the transition in the mindset still there while that was going on, or did it happen the day that you? Because I love, and I think the way that you put it, I love you said you caught a federal case, and you were
Right,
36 years old.
right,
So that was so then obviously you got caught, right?
right.
And tell us about that. And that where the that where the barbering started once you were in there? Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Okay. I got caught by the feds, right? And the first day when they put me in a car and they extradited me to the state of Virginia, the first thing I said in the car, first, I was glad I got caught because there's no real life on the run. Every
Right.
time you hear a siren, every time you see a police car, your heart jumps into your pocket. So your freedom is always at stake at that point where you can just get
Mm,
snatched. So when I got locked up and I was in a police car, I never forget. I put my head back in the seat, and people might think it's crazy, but that was kind of like one of the best days of my life because
yeah.
I knew that from that point, I had to change my mindset, and I knew
Mm,
I was going to do time, and I knew I didn't want to be in jail for the rest of my life. So that day started my transition because I said, now I have to rebuild myself from the bottom. And what
right.
better way to me, just talking about me, is to rebuild yourself is from the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
I was caught, I had no way to get out. So I said, I'm going to use this time. It's three things I thought about how I can survive in prison because I talked to other guys that was running in and out of prison. It was three
Yeah.
things job wise in prison. It was a cook. I mean, it was a cook. It was it was more than three things. It was a cook. You washed the dishes. You worked in a laundry, or you worked in a barber shop. And
Ah,
that's when the light bulb went off. I said, when I come home, now I used to hustle. I'm not going to
yeah.
be no cook. I'm not going to work in no laundry because once you hustle and you're successful at it, but you know you're doing wrong, your way of lifestyle it has increased to the point where you like to
Yeah.
find the things in life.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, barbering, I tried it, but I got shot. Now I got plenty of time to figure this barbering thing out and
Mm.
hit the streets running.
So is that so when you were first of all, I want to find out how much time did they give you? What did they?
They gave me 12 years and I did 10 years. I did
Wow.
like 9 years and 10 months. I always say 10 years.
10 years, just easier to say.
Was two
Yeah.
years from 10
2 months
years.
from 10 years,
10
exactly.
years, right?
So you had that whole time in there. What was it the 10 years of barbering, or did you have to do something to prove it that you could do that skill? Or
No, I'm gonna tell you everything. I'm gonna tell you in life, things happen the way they're supposed to happen.
yeah,
You
yeah,
just have to be on point in your mind to realize that I got to take advantage of these certain situations that happen in your life. I'm in the county.
yeah,
What happened was the block they put me in was a trustee block because you get more food and you clean up and
yeah.
whatever you do. So another barber that was there on misdemeanor time, he got released. And I never
Oh,
forget one of the COs, one of the trustee COs who was controlling the jobs, came to the union and says, "Who know how to cut hair? We need a barber." Me with my minimal skills and going to barber school for a short period of time, and I knew I wanted to be a barber. I said, "Here go my chance." Bam, me. I want to be a barber. They take me, throw me in a room, said, "You're gonna cut hair." I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't stay in school that long. I just knew that I had to start learning from scratch. And what
yeah,
better way to learn was from people that's incarcerated because nobody's really going nowhere unless you get
yeah.
released. And it was interesting because when I started cutting hair, it gave me peace.
Really?
It gave me something to look forward to. And I cut some real notable people in the county. I don't know if you remember John Walker Lynn, the first guy who fought with the Taliban.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I never cut him, but the barber in cell was right next to Zachary Masawi, the 13th or 14th suspected hijacker.
Wow.
So I'm telling myself, here I'm in prison, but my grandkids are never going to believe what I'm going through and what I'm seeing in this prison. So they locked me in a room. I'm cutting hair, and I'm just building myself up. I'm just building myself up. I just knew that I'm going to be a great barber when I'm released.
Yeah. And did so it's interesting because and again, forgive me, but I mean I think that if you haven't been to prison before, you don't really you know what it's like. You watch movies, but I'm sure that's movie style stuff. But when you always hear the things about that everything was so guarded with anything sharp. Were you allowed scissors? Were you allowed? How did you cut the hair? What
Well,
tools did you
when I
have to
actually
use?
became when I actually became a barber, you can give your ID and the police to come check the scissors out to you.
Got
But
it.
now, if anything happened with them scissors, you're the one responsible
Right.
because you can't have open razors in prison. Even though people take the Gillette razor and break it open, to shape up the line or whatever. But if
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
caught with an open razor, you're going to get in trouble. But you don't have the equipment, the access to the equipment that you have on the street, but they have a cage that's locked. They have Andes, they have, clippers and
Yeah.
different things like that, screwdrivers to adjust the clippers, but everything is under lock and key.
Yeah. And accountable for. Yeah. That's
Yes.
wild. And again, I want to jump into that and what it was like learning as you went. But I remember when you and I chatted, you said, you said that when the shell shock that you have to go through, and I think when we talked about it, you said it's the shell shock that's there is kind of the same thing going in as going out. So
Right.
what was that like when you went in there? I mean, we talked about the mindset. You did say that it was like it was like almost a thank God I did get caught. I am going in. It's my turn to turn my life around. But what was it like? I can't even imagine if somebody would say to me tomorrow, Chris, you're going to jail, of what I would think or what it would be like for me. I have no idea.
Well, I'll tell you this. The first night, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, that you spend a night in jail after being free from a charge of your life, it's a rude awakening when you
Oh,
wake up in that morning to the noise of the chow, the breakfast coming in, because you think you're dreaming
yeah,
when you go to sleep. And when reality hits in, when you wake up and that first meal is dry cornflakes, not frosted flakes, dry cornflakes and a boiled egg and warm milk in a carton. That's when reality hits you. Oh my God, what have I
yeah,
done to myself?
yeah,
And as a grown man going in at 36, I didn't let nobody see it, but a tear came to my eye
yeah,
because I couldn't
yeah,
believe that I let myself get caught up in this, and this is one of the punishments and the results that I have to live through
yeah,
as a man being incarcerated. Men is meant to
yeah,
be free, not incarcerated. So that
yeah,
first morning, it was tough, but I knew I had to rebuild myself, and I knew what I was doing was wrong, and I wanted it to stop. And it was only two things that was going to happen: either I was going to go to jail, or somebody was going to kill me.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I
yeah,
already had an attempt on my life. I've been kidnapped before. I didn't tell you that. I've been kidnapped prior to that. So it's just
um,
like the money will have you sidestep anything. Oh, well, it won't happen again. Or the next time I'll be smarter. So, when I woke up in prison and I reevaluated my life, I was like, I didn't love myself because if I
yeah,
loved myself, I wouldn't have been doing them things to place myself in them bad predicaments. So I had to really like just flush myself out of all the negative. Like when I was away, I didn't read negative books. I didn't look at the pornographic stuff. I just stayed with the positive because I had to break myself down like an infant and rebuild myself back to a
yeah,
man.
yeah. Because I remember you said that everything that you would read about was about how was positive and how it made
Positive.
your
I
life
don't
better. How to
care. I don't care what it was. If it was positive reinforcement, that's what I did. I didn't have a favorite program. I didn't have a favorite movie. Now, of course, I watch news, I watch sports, but have other inmates sit there and they have a special saying, movie on, and you see everybody running to the movie room being comfortable. And I said to myself, I sat in the back and I watched people in the front. I said, the same way you come in, if you don't let your mind grow, is the same way you're going to go out.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I seen so many individuals who did 15, who did 20 years, and they're maybe a month or two before release, and you just see them walking around the track and field in a daze because they don't know what they're going to do. They've
Yeah.
been watching TV for 15, 20 years. They didn't
Yeah.
prepare themselves. They didn't
Yeah.
take no programs. I took roofing, I took computers, any program, even though I didn't want to be a roofer, I took it to escape my
Yeah.
mind out of the prison. I didn't want to be a computer expert. I took the computers to escape my mind because I knew if I shut my brain down, that chances are when I come home, I'm going to have the same behavior.
Yeah. I loved when we chatted a while back. I remember that you saying something to the effect of about the mind and the way your mind, and they said you, and I think you said they could lock up, they could lock up your body,
But they can't
but
lock up your mind.
there you go. And I
Yeah,
think that's so. I mean, if you got to be there because you got to be there, but
right.
you can make decisions and choices just in life, you know. And I think that's so brilliant, just the way that you shifted your mind the way other people didn't, you know.
See, the barbershop helped me out tremendously because it gave me something to live for in my worst
Yeah,
moments. It gave me something to feel free. I would sit
yeah,
in the barbershop by myself and just sit there and say, this is my barbershop.
yeah,
I'm gonna take care of it. I didn't know how to cut, but I was sitting in that barbershop. I'd rather sit in that barbershop and sit in a housing unit. And I would have slept in that barbershop my whole 10 years if they would allow me to, because I knew I had to fall in love with this craft in order for me to survive the right way when I come home.
yeah. What was it? And so when in jail, when you were cutting in jail, was there difference between, like, did you find there's any difference between because there's still about an experience, right? Somebody's got to
Right,
trust in you with the clippers.
right.
They're telling you what they want or what they don't want or do anything, whatever. And what is there? Was there any difference when you were in prison cutting versus, like, if you had to say compare yesterday when you were in Level? It's Level is the name of the salon,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah, there's the barbershop. And then
yes.
is there, tell us about the difference in the experience that it was for them having a haircut and for you doing it.
Oh, it's a big difference between prison and the free world because in prison, you could lose your life over a haircut.
Oh,
You could lose
in
your
what
life.
way? Yeah.
They'll kill you if you mess up their haircut because they got
What?
to go on a visit and you don't jack their haircut up. They'll kill you because I'm gonna tell you a story with me. Um, as I'm learning, I'm shaping up, so I'm taking my little baby steps. Oh, I could line up. So your mind say, if you could line up, you could fade. So
Yeah.
okay, I'm dibbling dabbling. Now this one guy come with straight hair like yours, and he says, "Hey, New York, can you fade?" I'm thinking, hey, at this point, I'm shaping up nice. People paying me stamps for shape ups. Yeah, I could do that. And I messed his hair up. And I wouldn't let him look at the mirror. He kept wanting to see the mirror. And they called us for chow. I said, don't worry, I'm gonna feed you out my locker. Because I knew if I let this guy go to the chow hall and people say his haircut, I'm gonna have problems when he come back. Not that problems where, I'm afraid like he's gonna kill me, but I just know that we're gonna have problems,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't really know to the full extent what he was locked up for.
Right.
Everybody don't tell you what they're locked up for.
Oh,
So
I
what
didn't
happened
know
was,
that.
no, everybody don't tell you. No, they don't
Oh,
tell you. So what happened was, I'm cutting his hair. I know I'm messing up. I'm like, man, I can't get this line out. I can't get this line out. So it was a guy from DC. I don't remember his name. He came. He said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Yo, I can't get this line out." So he took the comb, took the line out. So the next day, I see the guy. His name was I think his name was Panama or something like that. He was with a clique called Sex, Money, and Murder from out the Bronx. He comes to me. He says, "New York, I'm feeling bad because I know I messed his hair up. He said, hey, there's no doubt in my mind that when you leave this prison, that you're going to be a great barber. And I'm like, man, what makes you say that? He said, because I asked you, can you fade? And you told me, yeah, I can fade with all the confidence in the world. And you messed my hair up. He said, you got to be lucky that I'm not going on a visit, because if I was going on a visit with my hair messed up, me and you would have big problems. And I come to find out he had life plus 40.
Oh,
So you can
wow.
imagine what the big
Yeah.
problem would have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when
Yeah.
I knew that if I was willing to take a chance on my life to be a barber, I knew when I got out of prison that I was soar like an eagle.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Because
I'm sure that,
inside, yeah, because inside, you know, people got time. They got time on top of time, and they're going to critique their haircut not like somebody on the street. If
right.
it's a piece of hair missing, they're going to tell you about it. They might come back 2 hours later. Hey, man, you missed a spot, because we have nothing but time.
Right. Wow.
So that was, I said to myself, if I could defeat this and learn in this environment, oh, I'm gonna be a monster when I get out.
Yeah. It's interesting, when I hear people in schools now, whether it's in cosmetology or barbershops or whatever, and they're so afraid of making a mistake, and yet we look at what the consequence would have been if you would have had that if you made that mistake in prison. But
Right,
when they're out, the worst thing that would possibly happen to them is the client might not come back.
right.
So yeah, I can only imagine. I think that's when it's like when people say I get it. I don't think you get it unless you were there. And
Right.
yeah,
But can I add to this?
you can add
My
anything you want,
mindset,
brother.
my mindset was this also in prison. I said, hey, I want to be a great barber. Somebody got to be the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
so my conscience was, if I messed you up, hey, I I don't know how to cut that well. I'm still learning. And then you had
yeah,
guys who knew that you were still learning and didn't mind a mess up.
yeah, yeah,
So now when I hit the streets, I didn't have that pressure on me because I knew I wouldn't get stabbed for a haircut. So if I
yeah,
messed up in the beginning, it was like, oh well, come see me 3 years from now. I'll fix it. I'll be
yeah,
a better person. So, I'd say this to up and coming stylists and barber and barbers: you cannot be scared to make a mistake. That's
right.
the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
And my trick was, when I was cutting in a barber shop in prison, I wouldn't let you look in the mirror. When I seen you looking in the mirror, I turned the chair the other way. You know,
But there has the time. Can you remember when it all clicked? Like how far in did it when you weren't having to turn the chair, or if you're in for 10 years and cutting for 10 years, and I don't know how many you cut per day, et
right.
cetera, but what was it like? When did that light bulb finally go off, or that confidence ring in your brain that you went, I can do most of anything that I need to do now?
Well, it wasn't in prison. Prison was this, because you don't have before I got into the barber shop, you don't have the basic tools. You would buy a pair of beard trimmers off a commissary,
Yeah.
and you would shave down the guard a little bit, and you could just do a little touch up like that. But it really clicked for me, far as I knew I was on the right track, when the inmates started paying me stamps for shape ups.
Ah,
That's when I knew I got skills. Like, I just gotta just keep practicing
yeah,
and learning and learning and learning and learning. And I would walk around, oh, I shaped that guy. I would analyze my work, and I would let other guys ridicule me about, oh, you can't cut New York. And I would let them teach me. Show me where I messed up at. Instead of being mad, I
yeah,
said, I'm a flip it.
yeah.
You show me where I messed up at. So you're teaching me, but you think you laughing at me, but I'm laughing at you.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So now I want to talk to you a bit. Now when okay, so we went through that. We got through prison. I want to talk about just what was it like, number one, when you got out, and then I want to go into how it was getting a job and getting back into barbering on the street.
Okay. Like I said, when I was in prison, all I did was read positive stuff, magazines, whatever. And I'm just telling you, like everything in my life, it seemed like it's always a part A, a part B. One thing leads to another. I'm in
Yeah.
the housing unit and I'm reading a magazine. And in the back of the magazine, it has levels advertisement inside. And then one of the barbers is saying where he came from, the amount of money he's making. And I read the article and I ran to another inmate. I said, look, I told you, it's money in barbering because everybody was telling me, man, you're going to be a barber. There's no money in barbering. I said, I'm telling you, it's money. So that only solidified what I was thinking by having this article. So now I get out of prison November 1st, 2011. So everybody in prison works out. You know, I work out. So I wear glasses. So this day I don't have my glasses on. And I'm walking to Atlantic Mall to buy me some workout gloves. So I don't have my glasses on. So I get off to stop before I was supposed to get off on the bus. What I walk by, a Levels barbershop. I said,
Uh-huh.
oh, wow, this is the same barbershop. I knew they had them in Harlem, but I didn't know they had them in Brooklyn. So I walk past and I see a Levels and I was like, wow, this is what I read about when I was in prison. So I go inside, tell the guy, hey, I'm looking for a barbershop to work in. Because I was going to work at another barbershop in Bushwick section of Brooklyn. But the guy chair was messed up. And I was so desperate to be a barber. I told him I was willing to buy my chair and bring my chair inside the shop because the chair he had was broken. So my friend said, no, you don't want to work in this area. I want you to be downtown. You got to find somewhere downtown to work. Right. So I happened to walk past Levels. I went inside. What I did like, it was the owner cutting in the first chair. So I'm telling him, I said, listen, I just came home. I'm a good guy. I just want to be a barber. He never tells me to own, and I respect that. So he says, hey, you really want to learn how to cut hair? I said, yeah. He said, goes to a location in Harlem, which is another Levels. You're going to cut the homeless, let the guy see how you cut. And if you cut decent, we'll give you a job. So I go that Tuesday, I buy all this equipment. I go that Tuesday to Harlem, 117th and Lexington Avenue. And as I'm cutting the guy, the same guy who gave me the card walks in the shop. So
No,
the
no.
other barber that's in the shop says, hey, that's the owner Levels. And I was like, wow. And it blew me away because most people, when they own something, they gloat it. Oh, this is
Yeah.
mine. You know, I got a shop. He just treated it like he was a regular barber. And to this day, our relationship is 100 because I told him, if you give me a job, I'm going to be an asset. I said, you don't know me, but I'm a hustler. I'm going to be an asset to your business and you're never going to forget about me. And he has told me maybe 5, 6 years into me working at Levels, he has never ever seen a. He said he wouldn't repeat this because he would hurt people's feelings. He has never met a barber like me in his life, and he's been cutting for
Yeah.
25 years.
I bet we have something in common. I have this love-hate relationship. I hate paying for something that I'm not using. I hate working in a small, cramped box. Yet, I love working in a cool salon that impresses my clients, and I love the culture and synergy of a team while enjoying the freedom of being my own boss. You too? What if all that was available to you at the salon you rent from? Meet Artist on Go, a game-changing way to rent salon space. With Artist on Go, you only pay for the time you're behind the chair. You can choose a salon that fits your vibe, location, and amenities. With Artist on Go, you're a part of a stylist community, not hustling alone. Plus, you get to enjoy perks like clean towels and back bar supplies. Check out Artist on Go, built for stylists serious about their clients and growing their brand without the hassles of managing a space. Here's the kicker. You can save more than 50% on your rent. To find out more, go to bit.ly/artistongocb. That's bit.ly/artistongocb. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you have to take stuff away from people maybe, and then you just realize how good you've got it out there.
Yeah,
So tell me about that. You were involved also, and tell me a little bit about Be Your Own Boss campaign.
yeah. I cut a few professionals. Ryan Clark from ESPN. I was cutting him for 3 years. Jim Jackson, nice guy. I was cutting him when he come and do the NBA games and the college games. I was cutting Emmanuel Ocho. Walter Mosley's a state's assemblyman for the state of New York. I was cutting him when he was assemblyman in our district in Brooklyn. I was cutting his son. And I just built relationships with individuals. People could tell up front whether you're a fraud or whether you're real,
Yeah.
right? So I always just been genuine because I love barbering so much with meeting new people. You never know who you're gonna meet next. So I just wanted to be a great barber along with being a great person. And he said, "Hey, I got something for you. We having a campaign called Being Your Own Boss, and I think you're the perfect candidate to represent what we putting out in New York City." And they came through, and I told my story. They had me on NBC News. They had me on WPIX, and I say it was the work ethic that got me recognized through all the people that I've cut, because I've been at levels going on 14 years. Besides the pandemic and vacation, I've missed no more than 30 days in 14 years.
Wow. Wow.
And I
Wow.
start as early as 5 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning. And
Wow.
when you come in 4:30 in the morning, I usually have a 4:30, a 5, a 5:30, a 6. Like before the pandemic, I was cutting like 30 people a day.
Wow. Wow. And this is, um, I love that. And I keep reverting back to is, the having a conversation with you was truly meaningful to get to understanding of not only where to go in this podcast, but just to get to know you as a person. And I loved how you said that you love to hustle cuts more than you did. I think you put it. I love to hustle cuts more than drugs. So there had to be something really profound that happened um, to change your mindset to the point. We can always talk about it when you're in jail and that's what you
Right,
have to do. But when you
right,
get out in the real world as well, it's nobody's going to be killing you over making a mistake in your haircut. But
right.
when I see so many people that are so afraid to make a mistake or no, they're trying different things or new things, and yet you're out there just hustling away, starting at 4:30 in the morning. I go, good Lord, there's got to be something about ambition that goes along with that.
Yeah. I mean, because if you don't put, as a barber, and I tell other fellow barbers, if you don't put the work in, how are you going to succeed? So many
Yeah,
people, they don't know how to stay solid. Don't come
yeah,
to work early for 2 weeks. Come to work early for a whole year.
yeah,
Then you see your results. Nothing is
yeah,
going to happen overnight. See, a lot of people, unfortunately, now, as I grew up, they don't have that stay power. If they don't make money in 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 weeks, they out of there. No, when I first worked at Levels, my whole first week, I made just $80. But know what I said to myself? It's money here because I made
yeah,
$80 in my first week. I just had
yeah,
to build up my clientele.
yeah,
And I did whatever it takes. I stood outside the shop. I stopped cars. The red light. I'm tapping on bus windows. I'm giving cars to everybody. I walk around the neighborhood. I mean, I was relentless. My motto on my card to this day is, if you don't like my cut, you don't pay. So who's
yeah.
not going to try you with a motto like that?
I think that you kind of answered this already, but I'm still going to put it into a question because this comes up to me as a coach, as a trainer, as somebody who talks to salon owners all the time, and I hear this in particularly on my side of the business, which more on the cosmetology side. When I hear people say, "Well, I don't have a client, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon or noon or whatever," I just want to go home. And when I hear that you're out there and you might leave the salon, but you're out there, you know hustling, getting business, stopping people and saying, look, I can do your hair. What would you say to that person when you say to them, if somebody in your establishment said, I'm not busy and I'm still supposed to be here for a while, but I want to go home? What do you say to them?
You don't want to make no money.
Yeah,
You don't want to make no money, because if you want to make money, you're not going to sit down and waste your time. Even before I became a barber with a lot of clientele, I felt that if I come outside every day and give forth the effort to build what I'm trying to get to, if I gave out 50 cards, that's just like working.
Yeah.
If I hit the neighborhood, like I stop people, you constantly politicking. See, a lot of people just want to just sit there and think that the money going to hit them in the head. Like
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
me, honestly, I don't get along with lazy people. If you're not motivated and you're not trying to, jumpstart your own business, we really don't have nothing to talk about because it's so easy. It's just that people fear rejection. When I first was handing out cards, you think everybody took my card? You know what I said? Don't worry, you'll sit in my chair one day, as long as I'm staying busy. Your
Yeah.
name
Yeah.
spreads. And the same people that wouldn't take my cards have been my customers for the last 10 years. Because
Yeah.
all it
Yeah.
took was one time to sit you in my chair to show you what I was working with. And now I got you hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
It's just that,
They say in sales that people will say no 12 times before they'll say yes.
yeah,
So nobody's going to just say yes. And not every person is going to say
right,
yes the first time. And the moment that you can get used to the word no, and no doesn't mean I don't like you. No just means I don't have enough information.
right,
There was a story about this is an old book that I read 100 years ago. Like you, I always read, positive books and things on transforming your life. And there was a book by Hank Trissler was the guy's name, the author, and he was in sales, and he was the guy that they would call to come in and save companies when their sales weren't good.
yep,
And I don't remember the kind of company that he went into to help to save, but because their salespeople weren't good. And what he would do to them is he would do two things. Number one is he would say, "Okay, today you got to learn how to sell, and so you've got to sell today 12 cemetery plots." And the people would say, "Well, we don't sell cemetery plots." And he said, "Yeah, but you're going to sell them, and you're going to get used to people saying no." And it was just the fact that they became so immune to the word no that they would keep selling, even though they had
right,
nothing to sell. They just
right,
got over, then had to learn how to handle those objections that came up.
right, right. But see, it all boils down to this too. When you're selling yourself, you just you have to have a great approach.
Yeah, yeah,
You have to have a confidence. People want to see that you're confident. If
yeah,
you approach me and you're shaky about your product, you're gonna make me shaky about even listening to the information. But
yeah,
if you're
yeah,
approaching me and guarantee me like, hey, I guarantee you your cut gonna be nice, I'm
yeah,
gonna give you a shot. And I can stand in front of the shop and people don't tell me, people, strangers don't tell me no when I'm out there grinding, which I don't have really, I don't grind like I used to because all my cuts now are word of mouth. But
yeah, yeah,
when I was grinding, it was nothing for me to go outside, snatch 4 or 5 customers and cut their hair. That wasn't a problem. You just have to have a confident approach. A lot of
yeah,
people, they don't, if somebody shuts them down, they're not going to talk to the next 5 people. I'm like, oh
yeah,
well, you don't know what you're working with. I'm gonna go talk to this next person. You just have to have confidence in yourself. I figure like this. Me, I'm not saying this applies to everybody. With me, if I was able to sell you a drug that wasn't
yeah.
good for you, you think I can't convince you to let me cut your hair? Come on now, it's a
Yeah,
no-brainer.
yeah,
And I'm not tearing down the neighborhood no more and feeling
yeah,
bad about myself. I'm uplifting the neighborhood and maybe helping somebody else feel better about themselves because you give me creative control over your look, and I take
yeah.
that serious.
And I have to, I want to bring it back just to, and this, what I hear you saying is so applicable to when I met you the first time, because I was doing I was doing the seminar at 718, and I guess you just happened to be walking by, and as soon as Michaela told me about you, said, I want to have him on my podcast. And you happened to be walking by,
Right.
and she said, "Hey, come in. Chris wants to meet you." And we were right in the middle of the class. I remember introducing you there. But here's the reason why I'm bringing that up. Some of us, you in particular, got that lesson on your own. Some of us had to pay business people to talk about how big they would call it your aura. How big are you? And like, how do you fill a room when you walk in? And that's what I want to talk to is just about what you said there. When you walked in, to Salon 718, and there was whatever 20 of us packed around in
Right.
there, and you walked in there. And when I say you were big, I don't mean that just that you're a tall person. I mean you
Right.
filled the room when you walked in, and just the way you said hello and the way that you shook hands, I got that feeling about you right away. And it came from a feeling of not overconfidence, but just of that self-worth. That's kind of what
Right.
came to me. And I think that if you have that in your life, it's that much easier just to be authentic around people.
Right. You got to know how value you got to know how value you are to yourself and to the things that you're doing. Because long as you know your value, you can never be shortchanged.
Yeah.
See, a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know their value. I know my value. I know what I bring to the table. And I don't walk around with an air of supremacy about it. It's just that I know my value. I'm gonna treat you real. I want you to treat me real. Listen, we could be great or we could be nothing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna kind of just do a little shift in here because I remember when Michaela and I were having dinner and we were talking about you. And then the way it actually started out was she was talking about when she was doing an event for her people and she had to take them someplace. And she said that I rented. She said I rented these vans. And you told me they were called sprinters, but she said they rented to take to all of her staff because she has like what just shy of 100 staff, and she
Right.
wanted to take them to this place. And then so she rented these sprinters, these vans from you. So I want to talk to you about not only that you and because to me always hustling is sometimes can be a negative word and sometimes a positive word.
Right.
What I love how you spin that to positive is you not only do what you do as a barber, but I want you to tell the story about how you got started in your private transportation business.
Okay. Since I've been home from prison, I don't had um Cadillac, paid that off, three Benzes, paid that off, two Porsches, paid that off. So on the last Porsche, I was like, you know what? This car is depreciating. I had a Porsche Panorama, nice. It's 6,000 miles on there. I said this car is
Yeah,
depreciating, and that always stuck in my mind. So I have grandkids. I'm about to be
yeah,
59 years old Sunday, so I have grandkids. One of my daughters is a doctor. Well, my kids are doing wonderful, and I wanted to take my grandkids on a road trip, and I wanted to use a Sprinter,
yeah,
right? So a friend of mine was in the Sprinter business, so I said, "Hey, send me some pictures of your Sprinter because I want to use it on a road trip. I want to take my kids on a week road trip." So when he sends me a picture of the Sprinter, the outside is nice, but when I look at the inside, I'm like, nah, I ain't put my grandkids in there because I wanted my grandkids to have a good experience.
yeah,
I love my grandkids, so I want them to have the good life.
yeah,
I'm doing right. Grandpa love his kids. So what happened was I said, you know what? I added up for the week how much it was going to cost me because we was going to hit like three major parks, uh, um, gas, fast passes, food, buying them stuff, the rental of the Sprinter. So it came to like $10,000 for a week. So I said, light bulb went off. I was like, you know what? My Porsche is paid off. I could take this Porsche, buy me a Sprinter, and have it for every summer. I could take my kids on a road trip, and I
yeah,
don't have to
yeah,
spend $10,000, and I could take it and make me some money too. So what I did was I started researching the insides of Sprinters. So a year passed. It was on my mind. A year passed. So I'm sitting in front of Levels Barbershop. So one of my clients, he is into sports management. So I said, "Hey man, what you think about this idea?" I was thinking about buying a Sprinter because me and my kids was going to Paris for a vacation. So I said, "What you think about this idea?" He said, "Tell me about it." I said, "Man, I think I want to get a Sprinter and start doing some transportation because my clientele, I could run the idea to my clientele, and I think it'd be a hit." And he said to me, his exact words was, "Say word, you're going to get a Sprinter." I said, "Word, I'm going to get a Sprinter." He gets right on the phone. He calls Nike, his connect from Nike. He said, "Hey, if I get a Sprinter, would you give me work?" And whoever he talked to said, "Yes." So I said, "Okay." people say things and that don't mean they're going to follow through. So I was supposed to buy the Sprinter when I came back from Paris, but I bought the Sprinter before I went to Paris. So maybe a week later, he walks by again. I said, yo, I got the Sprinter. And the relationship, my second job, my first job was a lady, she was a doctor. She took her son to the Poconos. So I said, okay, cool. I got a job. My second job was Nike. They wanted two sprinters going to a high school for an event. So the light bulb went off. I said, wow, this thing might be hitting on something. And it just took off from there. And then when I drove for Nike for that summer, that first summer, one of the high school coaches that I drove for the tournament, he happened to win the championship for 3 years in a row for the girls at South Shore High School. And me and him gelled. He said, man, I like you, man. You know, you're on time, you're nice. I had waters for them, you know, in the Sprinter, I had a refrigerator. He says, are you a Department of Education vendor? I said, I don't know what that is. He said, come see me when school starts. I brought my business information to him. They made me a vendor for barbering in 9 days. And when he
Nice.
made me a vendor, he said, we're going to use you, but I'm going to turn you on to a school that's really going to use you. And he turned me on to Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson won the championship last year. So it's just, I meet the coach in Thomas Jefferson. We go out of town to Philly, wherever we go, he points me. Go talk to that coach over there. They need transportation. I talk to that coach. He used me. Hey, go talk to that coach over there. And then one of my clients was an assistant to the chancellor of the Department of Education. He made me a vendor for barbering. So now
Oh,
I got a contract at Brooklyn Collegiate High School to mentor and cut the student because there's a lot of gang activity
oh,
there.
yeah, yeah.
So they made me a vendor for cutting hair. So I go into school on Mondays and I mentor the kids and I cut their hair at the same time.
That's awesome. So
And it just
I'm
grew. It just
curious.
grew. It just grew out of control.
Yeah, it kind of it's such a great segue for me right now because number one is that how you used the money that you got from barbering to bring out another business and make more money for you and your family. That's number one thing that came up.
Yeah.
But what I loved is how that I always believe that the universe gives you what you need when you need it. And how you had those and now you've got a fleet of them
Yes.
and it took you to kids that were like you. So it was almost like full circle that your kids that could be in trouble and you're mentoring those kids now. So
Yeah.
that's what I really want people to hear right now is that how you went from that 15-year-old and you transitioned and you got into drugs, then you got into, and like to say, by the grace of God, got caught. That was the part that helped to transition you and move you forward positively. And then it helped to transform your life. And then you got out, you're now at the point where you're actually transitioning the kids that were like you.
Yes.
Wouldn't it have been great if there would have been somebody at that 15-year-old that you were at that time that would have had that spark at that time? Because if you
Right.
had that hustle and that grind that you have now, and you would have had that, somebody could have helped to transform you, like you're helping those kids now,
Right.
and change that kid so they're not hustle and grind on drugs, but they're actually doing it. Think about where you are now and where you would have been if that mentor would have been there for you. But you're
Yeah.
that person now.
Yep. I ran through a lot of money.
Wow. Yeah.
I ran through a lot of money.
I just got to say, because I know that when we talked, you said you have what, 10 kids?
10 kids. I got 6
10,
girls and 4 boys.
or
Yeah,
boys.
4 men.
Yeah.
All my kids are grown.
Yeah. What was it like now that I'm not sure, and you don't even need to go into it. When you were in jail, what was it like? What did those kids think of you now?
What they think of me now, I believe that I showed them, regardless of what they believe at the time I was locked up, I showed them that no matter what you go through, you can come out of it if you want to come out of it. Because I
Yeah,
believe they might got more respect for me now that they seen that I came home and turned my life around. And it's not like I got one foot in and one foot out. They seen my total. You gotta remember, so many people thought that I would go back to jail.
yeah,
When I went to college, I would go back to my homecoming. They would make bets that I would be back in jail within a year
Yeah.
because they
Wow.
knew I was a hustler
Yeah.
and they thought that I couldn't do nothing else. See, my whole thing was this: I wasn't a drug dealer. I was a hustler. A drug dealer only could sell drugs. A hustler, no matter what he touched, he's going to prosper. So I always
Yeah.
consider myself a hustler. I never consider myself a drug dealer.
Yeah. And this has been so amazing talking to you on here. But there was I want to kind of end it up on this in here because when we were talking and you were talking about the freedom that you had before and then what it's like taking it away. And I just want to relive that moment. And I don't know if you remember what you said to me, but that was so profound. I don't know if you remember that what you said
Yeah,
about your life.
you never put your life in front of freedom.
Wow. Yeah. And you
You
probably
know,
didn't know that. You probably learned that the moment that you got caught.
yeah, because you could be in jail and be a $10 million man, but you're spending the same 290 as somebody that's broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money don't matter when you're in jail because everybody's the same.
Yeah. I just have to say this, my friend. I am so happy. I always was happy any time that I'm working. I love what I do. I love teaching. I love training with
Right.
people. But you know, the real true impact, I think, is when if you really listen to somebody, the fact that we had that conversation with Michaela and she got me to meet you. And so I really wanted people to see that, life's not rosy for everybody,
Right.
and sometimes the freedom gets taken away. And yet you could get real pissy and upset and then blame the world and so on, but you didn't. You said, look, here's my chance, and here's how you turned your life around. And Lionel, I just want to say it's a pleasure knowing you. I think most people would, if I'm hoping that out of this, that people will say, look, at every person that goes to jail is not a bad person. There's so many good people that can still come out and have a good life after that, regardless
Yeah.
of what they did when they
Yeah.
choose to turn their life around. So I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you for being on here. Is there any last words that anything you'd say to those kids and that youth that you'd be out there, somebody that's out there that might want to be thinking about the life that they could have and making life easier with drugs, etc. What would you say to them?
I'll say this. You want to be a boss, right? The right way, pick up a pair of clippers and learn how to cut some hair and you'll be your boss. You don't have to worry about running from the police or warrants or going to jail.
Yeah,
Barbering has opened up my life. I have met people that I know I would never have met if I wasn't barbering. Michaela, Brian, you, countless individuals that's helped me along the way. So if you want to change, you could change. You just have to love yourself, give yourself a chance, and put your best foot forward. Don't let nobody tell you you can't do it.
yeah. Lionel, if anybody wants, I mean, people are out there and they want to get in touch with you or they want to know more about you or, even speaking to people just to know what this is like you do with those kids. How can they, if they want to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, they can get my number. You mind I put my number out there? They can give me a
Yeah,
call.
yeah,
My number is 347-435-6534. My email is PHATCUTS. It's spelled fat cuts with a P.
yeah,
1985 @gmail.com. I'll answer any question. You have any questions you want, you need any advice on the barbering game, that's what I'm here for. Somebody had to help me to get to where I'm at, so I'm willing to help somebody else. And
yeah,
trust me, I know it's great jobs out here, but I feel there's no greater job than being a barber or a beautician or dealing with hair.
yeah.
You're your own boss.
And let's give Levels a shout out. Which levels are you at, and what's the
levels,
address?
levels, levels in Brooklyn, but I'm gonna shout all levels out. But
Yeah,
levels in
yeah,
Brooklyn is where I work at.
yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah,
they give you the chance. So
yeah.
God bless to you and to all and to that. I forgot the gentleman's name that was the owner
Of levels.
yeah,
Kamal
that,
Nuru.
yeah, yeah.
Kamal
Well,
Nuru. That's my guy.
yeah,
That's my guy. We have an impeccable bond. We me and him. We should have been brothers. We'd have had
yeah.
100 more shops.
There you go. Well, Lionel, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing. And like you said, when I talked to you originally, you said because it's kind of weird talking to people about jail time and so on, because you don't know if it's taboo and what to talk about. And you just said,
Right.
I have no fear of the truth.
No.
So I just thank you so much.
Yeah.
And it was a
Yeah.
pleasure having you
You
on.
can change. You can change if you want to change. And you
Love
don't
it,
have to
brother.
go to jail to change. You can change your mindset as a free person too now.
It's
You don't want to
just
go.
all this,
You don't want to go my route. So many
yeah,
people might not survive.
yeah. And it's all about the right decisions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Lionel, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Absolutely a pleasure.
Okay.
Thanks again for watching this episode, and if you liked what you heard, remember to smash that like or follow button, depending on your preferred platform. And make sure to share it with anyone you know that might be a fellow Headcase. Headcases is produced by Cut Action Media, with Marjorie Phillips doing the planning parts, Lee Baran on the video bits, and Adrian Taverner mixing the audio jazz.